Good morning. This is the Paradise Unicorn Priestess bringing you day 293 of A Course in Miracles, the Yin translation where we use female words. This would be October 20th if you're starting at the new year. How do God's teachers deal with magic thoughts? This is a crucial question, both for teacher and pupil. If this issue is mishandled, the teacher of God has hurt herself and has also attacked her pupil. This strengthens fear and makes the magic seem quite real to both of them. How to deal with magic thus becomes a major lesson for the teacher of God to master. Her first responsibility in this is not to attack it. If a magic thought arouses anger in any form, God's teacher can be sure that she is strengthening her own belief in sin and has condemned herself. She can be sure as well that she has asked for depression, pain, fear, and disaster to come to her. Let her remember then it is not this that she would teach, because it is not this that she would learn. There is, however, a temptation to respond to magic in a way that reinforces it, nor is this always obvious. It can, in fact, be easily concealed beneath a wish to help. It is this double wish that makes the help of little value, and must lead to undesired outcomes. Nor should it be forgotten that the outcome that results will always come to teacher and to pupil alike. How many times has it been emphasized that you give but to yourself? And where could this be better shown than in the kinds of help the teacher of God gives to those who need her aid? Here is her gift most clearly given her, for she will give only what she has chosen for herself, and in this gift is her judgment upon the holy child of God. It is easiest to let error be corrected where it is most apparent, and errors can be recognized by their results. A lesson truly taught can lead to nothing but release for the teacher and pupil who have shared in one intent. Attack can enter only if perception of separate goals has entered, and this must indeed have been the case. If the result is anything but joy, the single aim of the teacher turns the divided goal of the pupil in one direction, with the call for help becoming her one appeal. This then is easily responded to with just one answer, and this answer will enter the teacher's mind unfailingly. From there, it shines into her pupil's mind, making it one with hers. Perhaps it will be helpful to remember that no one can be angry at a fact. It is always an interpretation that gives rise to negative emotions, regardless of their seeming justification by what appears as facts. Regardless too, of the intensity of the anger that is aroused. It may be merely slight irritation, perhaps too mild to even be clearly recognized, or it may also take the form of intense rage accompanied by thoughts of violence, fantasized or apparently acted out. It does not matter. All of these reactions are the same. They obscure the truth. And this can never be a matter of degree. Either truth is apparent or it is not. It cannot be partially recognized. Who is unaware of truth must look upon illusions. Anger in response to perceived magic thoughts is a basic cause of fear. Consider what this reaction means, and its centrality in the world's thought system becomes apparent. A magic thought by its mere presence acknowledges a separation from God. It states in the clearest form possible that the mind which believes it has a separate will that can oppose the will of God also believes it can succeed. That this can hardly be a fact is obvious, yet that it can be believed as a fact is equally obvious. Herein lies the birthplace of guilt. Who usurps the place of God and takes it for herself now has a deadly enemy, and she must stand alone in her protection and make herself a shield to keep her safe from fury that can never be abated and vengeance that can never be satisfied. How can this unfair battle be resolved? Its ending is inevitable, for its outcome must be death. How then can one believe in one's defenses? Magic again must help. Forget the battle, accept it as a fact, and then forget it. Do not remember the impossible odds against you. Do not remember the immensity of the enemy, and do not think about your frailty in comparison. Accept your separation, but do not remember how it came about. Believe that you have won it, but do not retain the slightest memory of who your great opponent really is. Projecting your forgetting onto her, it seems to you she has forgotten too. But what will now be your reaction to all magic thoughts? They can but reawaken sleeping guilt, which you have hidden but have not let go. Each one says clearly to your frightened mind, "You have usurped the place of God. Think not she has forgotten." Here we have the fear of God most starkly represented. For in that thought has guilt already raised madness to the throne of God herself. And now there is no hope except to kill. Here is salvation now. An angry mother pursues her guilty child. Kill or be killed, for here alone is choice. Beyond this there is none, for what was done cannot be done without. The stain of blood can never be removed, and anyone who bears the stain on her must meet with death. Into this hopeless situation God sends her teachers. They bring the light of hope from God herself. There is a way in which escape is possible. It can be learned and taught, but it requires patience and abundant willingness. Given that the lesson's manifest simplicity stands out like an intense white light against a black horizon, for such it is. If anger comes from an interpretation and not a fact, it is never justified. Once this is even dimly grasped, the way is open. Now it is possible to take the next step. The interpretation can be changed at last. Magic thoughts need not lead to condemnation, for they do not really have the power to give rise to guilt, and so they can be overlooked, and thus forgotten in the truest sense. Madness but seems terrible. In truth, it has no power to make anything. Like the magic which becomes its servant, it neither attacks nor protects. To see it and to recognize its thought system is to look on nothing. Can nothing give rise to anger? Hardly so. Remember then, teacher of God, that anger recognizes a reality that is not there. Yet is the anger certain witness that you do believe in it as a fact. Now is escape impossible until you see you have responded to your own interpretation, which you have projected on an outside world. Let this grim sword be taken from you now. There is no death. This sword does not exist. The fear of God is causeless, but her love is cause of everything beyond all fear, and thus forever real and always true. Today's lesson continues on the theme of magic, and so it is good for us to review how A Course in Miracles uses the word magic. Some of the examples it gives in the text of the Course are things like taking pills to improve the health of the body or using money. And so it seems that the way the Course uses the word magic is the belief that the dream illusion is real, and therefore, in order to solve problems in the dream illusion, you have to work within the limits that it is set forth. On the other hand, a miracle walks through every limitation the illusion seems to set, because the illusion's limitations are meaningless, and they evaporate in the presence of the truth. The miracle shows that the illusion is meaningless and has no power and has no limitation. Today's passage is describing a situation where there is something that arises in the relationship between teacher and pupil, and it seems to be the teacher having an anger response to the pupil having magical thoughts. Why would this be? I would like to address an experiment that was done some time ago with pigeons, where they were put in a bit of a conundrum. There was a treat dispenser in their enclosure that offered up treats at truly random intervals at which the pigeon had no control. But the pigeon would notice the treat coming right after it made some movement, and then the pigeon would try to make the movement again, thinking that it would make the treat come. And if the treat came again, that reinforced a belief in the pigeon. Maybe it moved its left wing and the treat came, or maybe it turned its head to the right and the treat came. So the pigeon would keep doing it, and if the treat didn't come, it would seem like that movement alone was not enough. And then, if the treat came again, when the pigeon made a different move, maybe it lifted its left foot, okay, so now it does the first movement and the second movement, trying to get the treat to come. The result of all of this is that each pigeon developed an intricate dance of contortions that it would do repeatedly, thinking that it was making the treat come. And every pigeon's dance was completely unique to that pigeon. So one pigeon's dance was completely different than another pigeon's dance, and yet that pigeon was convinced that its dance was the thing to make the treat come. And it makes me wonder if this is not what indeed happens to all of us shards of God in the illusion, where we develop, in essence, superstitions about what gives us the desired result in the illusion. And the illusion being a thing of limitation, we think that the things we do magically dismiss those limitations for us. But we each have a very unique perspective, and thus we see humans with very different perspectives on religion, politics, culture, sexuality, all sorts of things, that when we encounter someone else who has a very different belief system, it can be triggering for us. So if we have put our trust in our opinions in response to how the illusion has occurred for each of us individually from our past experience, well, that's not putting our trust in the guidance of love, is it? Love does not bow down to any of the limitations in the illusion at all. It walks through them. This is the kind of trust that the Course is asking us to develop through our practice and seeing what happens when we practice. When we learn that kind of trust in love as our guide, we let go of the superstitions that we developed like the pigeon did in the example, and we won't be triggered or upset when we encounter the superstitions developed by another, meaning their opinions that were developed in response to the illusion. And thus the differences in our unique and eccentric dance that was developed by our past experience and our past frustration and our past wanting things to be better, those differences melt away and don't matter. As the teacher of God who is receiving and accepting the principles taught in the Course, we can set the tone, set the pace, set the example, be the opening for the light and love of God to shine through as we let our own dance dissolve, so that the one that we are in relationship with can be lit by that love and light as well, and let their own dance dissolve. For these are not dances of joy. They are dances of contortion, out of desperation, seeking to grasp some tiny crumb in the backdrop of scarcity that we think of as being reality. All right, this passage says, if a magic thought arouses anger in any form, God's teacher can be sure that she is strengthening her own belief in sin and has condemned herself. So responding with anger to something means we think the thing we're responding to is real. If we don't believe it's real, it's not going to make us angry. Anger is a form of attack. It says that our first responsibility when we encounter magic thinking in another is to not attack it. And we've learned that judgment is generally the foundation of all attack. It is the springboard for it. And it does go on to say that nobody gets mad at facts. Let's think about that. We accept gravity as a fact. Now, let's set aside that gravity is part of the illusion and isn't real, and even that we are not actually bound to. But we all accept it as a fact. We don't question it even a little bit, so we don't get angry at gravity. We may get angry at things that happen as a result of gravity, but we don't get mad at gravity. We don't lay the blame at gravity's feet. We lay it somewhere else. So where do we lay the blame? We lay it in the place where we have made a judgment, where we have made an interpretation of facts. And the passage says that the result of this anger is us taking up the sword and being ready to kill. How dramatic. We must remember that the Course teaches that even the slightest twinge of discomfort is death, and even the slightest, merest annoyance covers murderous rage. The whole Course is about how there are no orders of variance and difficulty. It is all one. Death in any form is death, even if it is depression or anxiety. And anger is murderous rage, even if it is slight annoyance. This passage goes on to explain why this dramatic response. How whenever we take up the role of judge, we believe that we have usurped the throne of God and made an enemy of God. And God is irresistible, so we then have to hide from ourselves just how impossible is our teensy tiny war against the great big all that is God. This is where the madness comes from, is our repressing this delusion, first that we have made the enemy of God, who is all-powerful, and then our having to disguise the implications of that, so the forgetfulness that we enter into, and hoping that God has forgotten our sin and will not come after us. It says that when we encounter magical thinking, it triggers and uncovers this. It brings it to the surface in all these unpleasant ways. Further complicating this matter, it says that the teacher of God has a well-intentioned desire to help the one in whom they encountered the magical thinking. But this is a double wish. It is not in alignment with itself. It is split energy, split intention, because of that hidden dance that's underneath it that happened when the cause of judgment was taken up. The passage then reminds us that the mixed results of this mixed intention to both help and attack will be experienced by both teacher and pupil, because, again, we are one. And when we enter into relationship, that oneness shows itself most clearly. Earlier in the Course, when it speaks of the holy relationship, it reminds us that we share in our successes and our joys, and we also share in our fears. And this is helpful because it speeds our learning and our understanding of how what we give, we receive, and when we heal another, we heal ourselves. And it taught us that the more sane of the two in the relationship will be playing the role of healer in that moment in time. And whoever is most sane may trade back and forth in different moments of time. But it is the sanity that will win the day. Because God is on their side, love is on their side, and love conquers all. This passage also says, it is easiest to let error be corrected where it is most apparent, and errors can be recognized by their results. The Course teaches us to be more vigilant of our state, our internal state. Are we in a state of joy? That means we've chosen rightly. Anything else means that something needs to be healed. We are seeing the effects of the dance of danger. Let us rejoice in remembering how easily every error is corrected by the Holy Spirit. The only thing that stands in the way is that we need to offer it up, that we need to be willing. Not even faith is required, we are taught. The Holy Spirit has faith enough, just willingness. It reminds us here in the passage that the answer is simple. Any gap or difference between teacher and pupil is an illusion. The teacher has a desire to help. The pupil has a cry for help. We can see the unity in that. All differences fall away in that unity. And we remember the teacher of God is pupil also, and the pupil is the teacher. These roles intermingle and trade back and forth again based on who is the most sane in any given moment. The passage says, a magic thought by its mere presence acknowledges a separation from God. It states in the clearest form possible that the mind which believes it has a separate will, that can oppose the will of God, also believes it can succeed. And we remind ourselves, a magic thought is a reaction to the illusion as though it is real. It is a reaction that seeks to function inside of the limitations that were set forth in the illusion as law, as irresistible. In this sense, the illusion is an idol, a false god, setting forth rules and limitations that must be obeyed. Magic thoughts are a response to those limitations of the idol false god. It acknowledges our separation from God. The mind that believes this magical limited thought believes it has a separate will that can oppose the will of God and can succeed. As teachers of God, we are being asked to look upon this with only compassion, no judgment whatsoever. This is a state to be in which is painful, and the precious child of God deserves relief from pain. And alas, the part of us that is still insane thinks that when we attack, we are helping. It is not so. We must leave all correction to the Holy Spirit. We must release any grasp on it as we would a hot stove, for it will burn us. The Course is teaching us to be vigilant and observant and see for ourselves that it is so. A child who touches a hot stove and recognizes that that is the cause of the terrible pain and wounding will not touch it again. In essence, the insanity of the shards of God in the illusion is so deep and so intense that they are in fact laying their hands on hot stoves and burning themselves all the time without learning that the hot stove touching is the cause of the pain, and choosing not to touch the hot stove will relieve the pain from happening. Indeed, the insanity is so deep and intense that the belief is that they must continue to touch the hot stove in order to stop the pain. When the teacher of God really gets this, that is when compassion flows in response to every present moment that previously had been triggering. It is here, then, that the passage reminds us of the nothingness of the illusion, and how nothing in it can have any effects whatsoever. Therefore, we do not need to react to magical thinking with anything but compassion, and see it only as a call for help, and that our response, our healing response, will be unified in alignment with itself, our own split healed, that we may be a conduit for the love of God, which is the only love. It reminds us that the love of God is the only thing that is real and is the cause of all. After reviewing what is the real world, found in show notes, we go on to lesson 293. All fear is past and only love is here. All fear is past because its source is gone, and all its thoughts gone with it. Love remains the only present state, whose source is here forever and forever. Can the world seem bright and clear and safe and welcoming, with all my past mistakes oppressing it, and showing me distorted forms of fear? Yet in the present, love is obvious, and its effects apparent. All the world shines in reflection of its holy light, and I perceive a world forgiven at last. Mother, let not your holy word escape my sight today, nor let my ears be deaf to all the hymns of gratitude the world is singing underneath the sounds of fear. There is a real world which the present holds safe from all past mistakes, and I would see only this world before my eyes today. That is our lesson. Happy practicing.